there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 5 of the anime series Psycho Pass 2. And what a compelling episode this was, having picked up right where we left off in the midst of this investigation of this unprecedented slaughter that unfolded at the tail end of the previous episode. We're seeing Mika has been very negatively impacted by this. She's off in the bathroom vomiting, profusely because she's just been rocked by it. And I have to wonder if it calls back to her almost being a victim herself in season 1, which is very much why she is so gung-ho as far as following the letter of the law and calling Akane's action, her boss's actions, into question. And of course she walks out of the bathroom to find Tagane, for all intents and purposes, a questionable figure and enforcer under Akane, pointing his dominator at her as if to get a read on her mental state. And this is something that's been very much a concern of Mika's, not believing that this Kamui figure even exists and all this kind of stuff. She's very much had an adversarial relationship with Akane, believing Akane to be doing things a little bit too loosely. It calls back on first season where we saw her friends being slaughtered at the Oso Academy, and she very nearly was a victim herself, having been taken under the wing of Yayoi. This is the only character she seems to have a rapport with within the confines of her work settings in the MWPSB under Akane. And so because Akane is not really following very dutifully the letter of the law and goes on instinct and all these things, she's very much in conflict with the way Akane is conducting the procedurals and the investigations, and she thinks she's too hands-on. Mika is very much of the opinion that Akane can't leave well enough alone and let it be the drones investigating and all this kind of stuff. She has to see things for herself. And so we have this just compelling adversarial thing going on, but then of course there is a greater sort of machination at work. Not only the puppet master-like hands of Kamui, but also relating back to Kasei, the chief of the bureau. Very interestingly enough, she seems to be concerned with Tagane. She wants Akane to keep an eye on Tagane. She also seems to be watching Akane, how Akane will react to this kind of stuff. She basically, when Mika finally goes and talks to her about Akane and keeping an eye on Akane's actions, you have Kasei kind of telling Mika, well, you know what, that's not really a concern of mine, but Mika basically turns the conversation on its ear so that Kasei has to at least admit to the fact that, if anything comes up, if Akane gets backed into a corner or something impacts her, you're going to be sort of responsible and you're going to have to do something and delegate authority, that kind of thing. And you can see Kasei is kind of like taken aback by that little twist in the conversation, but Kasei is definitely still much as she was in, the first season with the whole Sybil system and everything. She's kind of talking to herself, or maybe talking to someone we don't see, about keeping an eye on these people and having something up her sleeve. It's implied in any case how this is going to work with Kamui, whether it relates to him, whether, because we got the name drop of Makishima when finally Akane went to see Sagajuji again, asking him if he would interrogate Masuda, the guy they picked up episodes back now, and was all talking about Kamui. Basically we had this name drop of Makishima, which I'm wondering if maybe there's some sort of relation between Kamui and, Makishima effectively, at least in the mentality and the way Akane's reacting to this. Even Sagajuji's questioning, why are you so calm in the aftermath of this slaughter that happened? And Akane just kind of shrugs it off, that, it's her duty to chase down the law and whatever like that. And so it's almost a question mark in my head, who can we trust in this series anymore? Everyone seems to have other things going on, and potential red herrings though they may be, everyone seems almost borderline questionable in this season, and that just rocks my world, because it's like, who's going to turn out to be what? Who's going to be good, who's going to be bad, who's potentially working with someone, or, are these singular forces, and it's all going to create just a concussive force when they all come together. But it's very interesting, of course, when Sagajuji finally does go and talk to Masuda. He's been spending hours with Shion looking at all these old speeches of his, this politician's speeches and such like that, and he starts to perceive perceive in that very Sherlockian manner something has shifted, something has changed in this guy's mannerisms and his speeches, the way he would emphasize words when he was trying to say something important, or he would dial it back so people would be rapt with attention to what he was saying. And the past few speeches this guy has given are giving off a completely different impression to Zhuji. So he goes in and confronts this guy and says, who are you really? You're not really the real guy. You're somebody different. And it calls back that idea of the hollow programming. And of course, as we see the investigation of Tagane and Akane going to where they think Kamui has been stationed, they stumble across like facial transplant skin and everything like that. So for all intents and purposes, this guy could be playing in multiple puddles. It's not just hollow technology and wearing a holographic guise to hide your own persona. It could be actual legitimate surgical procedures that have been done. And this guy just has his hand in everything, Kamui, that is to say, because not only has Saigajuji figured out this guy who's pretending to be Masuda is not probably the real guy, but as Akane and Tagane have stumbled across that WC message once again, where they thought Kamui was hiding out. He expected them to be led to this point. It's very ironic that this particular, converted storage facility island looks very much like a game plateau in a manner of speaking. And you have one of the Division 3 investigators sitting back in his car, bored, playing a video game, and as he activates this video game, the police drones that are being manufactured on this particular island are coming to life with their weapons at full readiness. And once again, innocent victims, in this case the creators and builders of these devices and the maintenance people, are all being slaughtered viciously as this investigation is unfolding. And essentially this is his next step. Effectively, Kamui has called out the MWPSB, and this revelation toward the cliffhanger coincides with a revelation of Mika basically taking upon herself to investigate what Tagane's been up to. She goes to his apartment, and inside, very sort of disturbingly, he's got a lot of personal effects and imagery to do with Akane, their mutual boss. There are pictures of her with, calligraphy written on it, circling of her eyes and her facial mannerisms and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, he may be not sure Akane's the real Akane. Is he somebody working with, or is he potentially Kamui himself, trying to determine a means by which to create a sort of clone Akane, like they seemingly have done with this politician Masuda, that Saigajuji has figured out, and all this kind of stuff. It's just brain-busting. The twists and turns this episode has ramped up, and all of the question marks. Red herrings, as I say, though they may be, or maybe not. Maybe it's just a bunch of threads coming together, unrelated, and it's just going to be explosive when finally they collide. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 5 of Psycho Pass 2 if you've seen it. Otherwise, I hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.